Forget everything you thought you knew about Deno. Version 2.0 is here and it is a game changer. NPM compatibility? Check. Seamless Next.js integration? You got it. A performance boost that'll make you question your loyalty to Node.js? Oh yeah. In this Deno 2.0 crash course, I'm going to show you why Deno 2.0 isn't just an upgrade. It's a reason for you to actually replace Node.js in your daily workflow. So you've heard the Deno pitch before. Secure by default, TypeScript out of the box, web standard APIs. But Deno 2.0 takes it to a whole new level. We're talking about a runtime that now plays nice with the NPM ecosystem, supercharges your development workflow, and yes, it might just be the Node.js alternative you wish it would have been 4 years ago when Deno first came onto the scene. Here's what we're going to look at in this video. If you're brand new to Deno, it's okay. We're going to start with the basics, and we'll take a look at the NPM integration that changes everything. We'll look at building and deploying a Next.js app with Deno. Spoiler alert, it's super smooth. And we'll look at real-world examples that showcase Deno 2.0's true power. So whether you're a Deno skeptic, a curious developer, a JavaScript veteran, this crash course will reshape how you think about Deno. And no, this video is not sponsored by Deno. Let's go ahead and jump in and see what this runtime can really do. So first, let's begin by getting Deno 2.0 installed on your system. Deno is designed to be simple to install and use with no complex setup required. So for Mac or Linux, you can install Deno using this command in your terminal. And for Windows, you can use PowerShell and use this command. And after installing, just verify that it's working by opening up a new terminal window and typing Deno --version. You should see the Deno version number, the V8 version, and TypeScript version. Restart your terminal after installing if you don't see this. Now, at the time of this recording, I'm using the latest release candidate, but by the time you watch this video, you should see Deno 2.0. If you already have Deno version 1.46, you can run the Deno upgrade command to get the latest stable version. You can also use Deno upgrade similar to Node's NVM, Node Version Manager, to select various versions of Deno to use. For instance, you could run Deno upgrade -- version 1.0.1 if you wanted to use that particular version. You could run Deno upgrade -- canary to get the latest canary version, and Deno upgrade RC to get the latest release candidate. Now, Deno comes with a powerful CLI. Let's take a look at some of the basics. If you type in Deno -- help, you'll see all of the commands available. So for instance, we can use Deno run to execute a JavaScript or TypeScript program. There's dependency management commands, and there is tooling such as formatting. So Deno has a built-in formatter. There is linting. We can compile a self-contained executable, and even test. It has a built-in test runner. So we're going to dive deeper into several of these commands throughout this video. But first, what are some of the main differences between Deno and Node.js? Well, while Deno and Node.js are both JavaScript runtimes, Deno brings several key improvements. Deno supports TypeScript without any additional configuration. Now, with recent updates to Node.js, it is almost on par with Deno now, but this is a breath of fresh air. There is no configuration. Instead, TypeScript just works in Deno. And Deno is secure by default, requiring explicit permissions for the access to files, the network, and environment, and so forth. So if you try to run a script that accesses the local file system, for example, but you don't allow access to the file system, it just won't work, which is great for security. And Deno has a reviewed, maintained standard library, reducing the need for third-party packages for common tasks. So there's no need for externally maintained packages such as Lodash. It's just standard with Deno. And Deno uses ES modules and also doesn't need a package JSON or Node modules. But if you already have a Node project with these, it's no problem for Deno. It will use your package JSON and run with it. Deno also includes a test runner, code formatter, and linter. Again, no need for other packages such as Jest, Prettier, or ESLint. It's just built in for Deno. And one of the biggest changes in Deno 2.0 is the improved NPM compatibility, addressing a major limitation of earlier versions. So many developers have said they'd love to use Deno, but they need a specific NPM package that doesn't work with Deno, or there's no alternatives in Deno. Now you can use almost any NPM package directly in your Deno project. There are some edge cases, but even in those situations, you can use Deno lint -- fix to find and fix any issues. All right, so let's explore Deno in action and see some of the key features in more detail. First, let's initialize a new Deno project. So I'm going to run Deno init and then name the application Deno demo. I'm going to make this very confusing, probably between Deno and demo and whatever. So it gives us some commands to get started. We need to cd into that repo, and then we can Deno run main.ts, and Deno task dev, and Deno test. All of that is set up for us. So let's go check out what we have in this. So let's cd into Deno demo, and we can see what files we have in here. We have a Deno JSON file, a main.ts, and a main_test.ts. Let's take a look at those. First of all, it created a Deno.json file. This is going to look very similar to a package JSON file. So we see in here we have tasks, which in package JSON would be scripts. And we have a dev task, which is going to be Deno run -- watch main.ts. And then it looks like we have some imports, which would be like our dependencies in a package JSON. So from our standard Deno library, we're bringing in assert, and we are specifying that we want version 1. So let's look at the main.ts file, and this is a pretty simple function here where we are adding a number. So we have number A, number B. It's going to return a number, and it's going to add those together. And then if import.meta.main, then console log add, and then add those two together. So it's just going to console log what it's doing. And then we have the main _test.ts, which is going to bring in our assert equals from our assert library. And it looks like we get some red squigglies here because this hasn't been cached yet on my local system. Notice that we don't have any node modules folder. Now, if you're using VS Code, you'll want to install the official Deno extension. And so we're importing that add function from main, and then we're testing it. So Deno.test, and then this accepts a function here, add test, and we're going to assert equals. And so we're going to assert that 2 + 3 = 5. So that should all work. So let's test it out. So if we go into our terminal, let's do Deno main.ts, and we get 2 + 3 = 5. So perfect, that works. Let's run our test file. So we can say Deno test main_test.ts. We can see that it ran the add test, came back okay, so 1 passed and 0 failed. Perfect. And just to show you, if we go back to our main test, you can see that the squigglies are now gone from this import because it has now been cached. It will cache it the first time that you run it. Now, one of Deno's standout features is its built-in support for TypeScript. Unlike Node.js, which currently requires additional setup and compilation steps, Deno can run TypeScript files directly. So let's see a couple of quick examples. I'm going to create a new file called hello.ts. All right, in here, we're going to create this function called greet. It's going to accept a name, which is a string. It's going to return a string. So we're going to return hello and then your name. So we'll console log greet Deno. So this is very simple. Let's go ahead and save this, open up the terminal. So let's run Deno hello.ts, and it says hello Deno. Now in previous versions, you would type Deno run hello.ts, and that will work as well. But there is this now short version where we don't have to type run. We can just say Deno and then the name of the file, and it will run it. So Deno will compile and run this TypeScript file without any additional steps. This seamless TypeScript integration significantly improves developer productivity. And if TypeScript isn't your thing, you can just use plain JavaScript. So we can go back up here into this file and just delete all of this TypeScript stuff. And then we could rename this file to JS. And then let's go back into our console and let's run Deno hello.js, and it works just fine with JavaScript as well. Let's take a look at security next. Deno takes a security-first approach, and by default, a Deno program has no access to the file system, the network, or environment variables, and so you need to explicitly grant permissions. So let's take a look at this simple example here. I have a new file here called writefile.ts. So we're going to create a variable called content, and it will say hello Deno 2.0. Then we're going to await Deno.write text file, give it our output and then the content, and then we'll console log that the file was written successfully. So in 3 lines, we're just going to write a quick file to our file system. All right, let's save that and go into our terminal. And let's just try to run this. So we're going to say Deno write underscore file.ts. So we get this error here because our script doesn't have permission to write to the file system. To grant this permission, we need to run the script with a specific flag. So we can temporarily allow this. It's asking us, do we want to allow? I'm just going to say no here. And then let's run this again. This time we're going to add the flag -- allow write. And let's go ahead and run this. And now the file was written successfully because we added this security flag. And if we go over to our output.txt, here we'll see hello Deno 2.0. And we can also specify the exact file or directories if we want to be more specific. When it comes to security, we want to be as specific as possible. So we could actually say allow write equals and then tell it which file it's allowed to write to. By default, it will be allowed to write anywhere. Here we can specifically say you can write to the output.txt file, and that is all it will have permission to write to. And so this granular permission system helps prevent potential security vulnerabilities by ensuring that scripts only have access to the resources they absolutely need. Now remember, Deno also requires explicit permissions for other operations like network access, environment variable access, and running subprocesses. So it's common to see something like this: Deno -- allow read, allow write, allow net, allow env, and then run app.ts. So this syntax can get quite long if you need to allow several things. So the good news is Deno 2.0 introduces a shorthand way of writing these now. Alternatively, you could use -a to allow all permissions, but this would really defeat the purpose of Deno and its security features. So you really don't want to use -a. Instead, we could use the shorthand for each of these permissions. So -r is allow read, -w is allow write, -n is allow net, and -e is allow env. So we can just do -rwne and then run the app.ts file. So much shorter. Now, Deno also comes with a suite of built-in development tools. Let's take a look first at the formatter. Deno can automatically format your code. And this includes HTML, CSS, JavaScript, TypeScript, and many others. So we have this messy function here. We've got crazy spacing and indentation, and it just does not look good. So let's go over into our terminal, and let's move this down here, and let's check it out. So we could run Deno format fmt messy.ts. Now Deno has automatically formatted the script for us. Now Deno also has a built-in linter, so this can check your code for potential errors and issues. So we could run this on the same messy file. We could say Deno lint messy.ts. So we see here we have this linting error here on messy function because this is an unused function. And we already took a look at the built-in testing functionality of Deno. We have this test file, and if we open up the terminal and we do Deno test_example.ts, we can see that our tests run and they pass. And Deno also has a dependency inspector. So this is going to show a dependency tree of modules. So we have this example here that is importing application from Oak, which is a routing framework similar to Express. And then we're going to console log our server dependencies. So we can run that in the terminal by running Deno info and then deps_example. That's the name of the file here, example.ts. And we can now see a dependency tree of all of the modules in this script. We can see here's the Oak library and all of its dependencies. Now, Deno is all about standards, and so they use web standard APIs where possible, making it easier to write code that works both in the browser and on the server. So for example, Deno uses the fetch API for making HTTP requests, just like in the browser. So this code right here, very basic, this will work the same in Deno as it would in a browser environment. So if we run this file with the allow network flag, then we should see all the GitHub info for Denoland. Now you might have noticed that there are multiple ways to import packages in Deno. So let's explore a few of these. Deno can utilize its standard library as well as third-party modules. So Deno has its own hosting service for first-party and third-party modules. An example of that is right here. So this is going to bring in copy from Deno land from the standard library and the FS module. And then we can actually use copy here to copy one folder into another. And then here is an example of importing from a third-party module on Deno land/x. And so here we're bringing in the Oak framework and then utilizing the Oak framework and then starting it and listening. This is similar to Express, but this is a third-party module hosted on Deno land/x. We can also import directly from any URL. Again, here we're importing from the standard library, but any URL, specifically maybe to a GitHub repo that has a mod.ts file, we could import directly here in our Deno script. Deno 2.0 also allows direct use of npm packages with the npm specifier. So we could import calsay, we can specify that this is from npm and which version we want to import. And then we can console log move from npm in Deno. So let's go ahead and run this. This is a fun one. To run this one, we'll need to add the network and read flags and then import _example.ts is the name of the file. And there we have move from npm in Deno. We can also use JSR, which is the JavaScript registry. It's a new TypeScript native package registry for JavaScript runtimes. It works on Deno, Node, Bun, and other runtimes as well. So here's an example. Again, we're importing a path from JSR specifically, and we're using the join method. And then we're just joining these strings here together. And then we've also briefly looked at import maps. So import maps allow you to create aliases for import specifiers. So here in our Deno.json file, we have this import of @standard assert. Let's add another one here. So we're going to here import nodejs from the Skypack CDN. So let's save that. And now in my script, instead of specifying the URL to import this from, we can just import from nodejs. This is defined in our Deno.json file. Then we can use this here. So let's go ahead and run it and see that it actually works. And this one's going to need the N, R, and I flags. And we get our date formatted in the format that we requested. And then we also have the Deno add command. So Deno 2.0 introduces this command, which simplifies the process of adding and managing dependencies in your project. So we manually added that last one. Let's use this command on this one. So we're going to say Deno add, and we're going to import this from JSR. It's going to be from our standard library. It's going to be the path from our standard library. So we do that. And then we do need to allow import. I forgot that flag. I'm just going to go ahead and say, yes, let's do it. And now we've granted it permissions for that. And we could do another one. We could do an NPM package, for instance. We could do Deno add NPM, and let's add express. And I forgot the flag again. Let's go ahead and say yes. And if we go back to our Deno.json file, we can see that these extra imports or dependencies have now been added. And so again, we can now use these in our scripts directly by using express, nodejs, standard path, and standard assert instead of the entire URL. So that makes things a little bit shorter and easier for us in larger projects. Next, let's go through some hands-on examples. We're going to start out with a very basic hello world, but then we're going to add on to it. Okay, so as basic as can be, console log hello world, we know exactly what that's going to do. We run Deno hello world and we get hello world. Let's make this a little bit more interesting and add a function and use Deno's built-in prompt function. Okay, so here we have a function called greet, and we looked at this a little bit earlier. It's going to say hello name, but this time we're going to get the name dynamically from a prompt. So we're going to create this prompt here. What is your name? And then console log greet, and then pass in that name. If no name is added, we'll insert world. So let's go ahead and run that again. This time it asks us, what is your name? So I'll put in my name and it says, hello, Jesse. Really great functionality built right into Deno. And we could do the same thing in REPL. Deno has a REPL, which is read, eval, print, loop. So we could just run Deno to start up the REPL. And here we can type in that exact same thing and then run greet. And then let's say Deno and run that and hello Deno. So the REPL is great for quick experiments or testing small pieces of code. Let's move on to a little less basic of an example. Next, we're going to look at building a simple API. So now that we've got our feet wet, let's build a simple API, and we're going to create a basic RESTful API for a to-do list. So I have this file here called todoapi.ts. And first of all, we're going to define our port. So we're going to use port 3000. Next, we'll define an interface. So our to-do is going to have an ID, a title, and completed. That is a number, string, and Boolean. And then we'll go ahead and define some to-dos. So we have an array of to-dos here, learn Deno and build an API. And neither have been completed yet. Let's go ahead and check those off next. So first, we're going to create a function that is going to handle our request. It will accept the request, and it's going to return a promise response. We'll get our URL from our request URL. We'll create some logic before this, but the last thing that we'll do is return not found if nothing is found. But before that, let's go ahead and run our logic here. So we're going to get the URL path name, and if it is /todos and it is a get method, then we'll go ahead and return a response stringifying our to-dos and return that as a content type of JSON. And then if our path name is /todos and this is a post, then we'll get our request.json and then we'll add to our data. So our data title string, and we'll pass that in here. We'll get our new to-do is going to be todos.length +1. We'll get the title and then completed false. And we'll go ahead and push that onto our to-dos array. So that new to-do will get added onto our to-dos array and then return that response. And if neither of those routes match, then we're going to return a response of 404 not found. We'll go ahead and log to-do API is running on the localhost port, and then we'll go ahead and use Deno serve, and we'll tell it the port, and we'll give it our handle request. And that will actually start up our Deno server. So let's go ahead and run this. We can do Deno, and we need to add the allow network flag, and then to-do _API.ts. And we see that it is listening on localhost 3000. So there's various ways that we could test this using Postman or Thunder Client. Let's just go ahead and open up a new terminal, and we'll just use curl. So we'll curl http localhost 3000 /todos. So we'll hit that route, and we should get back the two to-dos that we already have in our array. Nice. So let's go ahead and add a new to-do to our to-dos. Again, we'll use curl here, and so we're going to curl -x, and we're going to identify this as a post. And then in our header, we'll specify the content type is application JSON, and then we'll pass our data, which is going to be this object here, which is going to be title, and the title is test Deno API. And then we're going to pass that into our /todos route. So this is a post route adding a new to-do. And there we go. We have added the ID of 3, title, test Deno API, and completed is false. Now, if we go ahead and run our get route again, we should see 3 total now. We have ID of 1, 2, and 3. So we can see here in 42 lines of code total, we've created a very basic API. So let's look at another example. In this one, we're going to create a simple CLI tool with Deno. So we're going to build a tool that can encode and decode text to and from base 64. So I have a new file here, base64_cli.ts. And let's go ahead and write this out. So first off, we're going to import parse from the standard Deno library flags package. And then let's go ahead and use this parse. So we're going to pass into parse deno.args. Args brings in any arguments from our command line. We're going to define those. We'll have a Boolean here of encode, decode, and help, and then aliases for those. So E will be for encode, D for decode, and H for help. So from these, we are getting back our encode, decode, and help methods. So next, if help, then we're going to console log our help message. So some basic instructions here on how to use this CLI. So -e or -- encode for encode, decode, help, and so on. And then we'll exit if we are looking for help. And if we're not looking for help, let's get a const text. It's going to equal Deno args, and we'll grab that last argument. And then if we are encoding, we'll create a const encoded, which is going to be equal to B to A text, and then console log embedded. If we're decoding, we'll do the opposite. Decoded is going to equal A to B, and then we'll console log decoded. And else, let's specify that we either need to use encoded or decoded and then exit. So very basic script that's going to import the parse function from Deno standard library, define the CLI options, and then implement the logic for encoding and decoding from base 64. So let's go ahead and save this, and then we can run it. So let's run Deno, and then the file base64_cli.ts, and then we'll do -e for encode. We want to encode hello Deno. So let's run that, and we get the base64 encoding for hello Deno. So let's do the opposite. Let's decode that base64 string. We put that in there, same as we did with the encoding, and we get back hello Deno. And of course, if we ran -h, we should get our help log. So really cool, but something even cooler is we can turn this into an executable. Let's run Deno compile base64_cli.ts. Now we have this compiled executable that we can run. So this will create an executable. And if you run this on Windows, it will create a .exe file. And so let's go ahead and run this. So without even needing Deno, we could just run base64 _ CLI. Let's go ahead and encode something and let's say, hello, Jesse. And there we go. We just ran this without even needing Deno. So this capability makes Deno an excellent choice for creating cross-platform CLI tools and utilities. Next, let's explore how we can use Deno with Next.js. Next.js is a popular React framework, as I'm sure most of you know. Deno 2.0's release has significantly improved its compatibility with NPM packages, making it easier to use with frameworks like Next.js. So first, let's go ahead and create a Next.js project using Deno. So we're going to use Deno and we're going to use the -a to allow everything because we trust Next.js. And we're going to run this from NPM and then create next app at latest, just like you would normally do. So it asks, what is my project name? Let's say Deno Next.js. Do we want to use TypeScript? Of course. Do you want to use ESLint? Okay. Tailwind? Yes. Source directory? No. App router? Yes. Customize defaults? No. And there it goes. It's running and installing all the dependencies. So let's go ahead and cd into Deno Next.js. And you can see here a standard Next.js environment here. We have our node modules, a package JSON, everything that you would expect in a traditional node-based Next.js project. Let's take a look at the package JSON. And we're going to look at the scripts specifically. So it's going to use next build, next start, next dev, etc. We're going to swap these out. So for the dev script, instead of next dev, we're going to run Deno run -a. We're going to tell it that we're going to use the node modules directory and then use npm and run next at latest dev. The build script will be very similar and is going to run next at latest build, and the start script very similar. So let's go ahead and open up our terminal and let's run Deno run dev. Now, actually, before Deno 2.0, you would have to do Deno task dev because scripts in Deno are called tasks. But with Deno 2.0, you don't have to specify Deno task dev. You can say Deno run dev, just like you're used to in a node environment. So let's go ahead and run Deno run dev. So first of all, it's going to download and cache all of the node modules and then start it up. So let's go ahead and navigate to localhost 3000. Now we have our standard Next.js project running in Deno. Let's customize this just a little bit. Let's go into our app directory and page.tsx file. And let's replace the contents here. So we're going to use use effect and use state, and then we will create this message and set message. So initially the message is going to be loading, and then we're going to use effect and fetch from this API that we're about to create. And the API is going to send back some data, and then that data will be returned here in our page body. So let's go ahead and implement this API route. So if we go over into app, let's create a new folder called API, a new folder called hello, and a file called route.ts. So in this route, we're going to export an async function get, and we'll have our request. We're actually not using the request, but we're going to return a new response, which is going to JSON stringify this message. Hello from Deno, current time is, and it's going to get the current time. And then we'll set our headers to application JSON. Pretty basic stuff there. So we should see loading for a bit, and then we should see the current date and time pretty quickly. Maybe too quickly, but let's see. All right, so it happens really fast, but it says loading, and then there's the current time. So every time I refresh, you can see that loading state and then the current time. So again, everything is working in Deno. So this integration between Deno and Next.js opens up exciting possibilities. You can leverage Deno's security features, built-in tools, and TypeScript support while still using the powerful features and ecosystem of Next.js. So we've covered a lot of ground in this Deno 2.0 crash course. Deno 2.0 offers native TypeScript support, enhances security, and has built-in development tools. It uses web standard APIs and now has improved NPM compatibility. We've seen how to create simple scripts, build APIs, create CLI tools, and even use Deno with Next.js. So where do you go from here? Check out the Deno documentation. It's an excellent resource for deeper dives into Deno's features. Join the community, participate in the Deno Discord channel, or follow Deno on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, for the latest updates. And then build projects. The best way to learn is by doing. Start building your own projects with Deno. Remember, Deno 2.0 is a powerful tool that combines the best of modern JavaScript and TypeScript development. It's focused on security, standard APIs, the developer experience, and that's what makes it an excellent choice for your next project. If this video was helpful, give it a like and subscribe for more content like this.